The alarm screamed through the Valtteri command station like nothing anyone had ever heard before. It was not the normal warning sound. This was the emergency signal that had not been used in 400 years. Grand Admiral Korath stood from his command chair and stared at the massive display screen. His gray skin turned pale. His 4 eyes blinked in confusion. The numbers on the screen made no sense to him. "Report," he commanded. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. A young officer turned to face him. The officer's voice was trembling. "Sir, we have detected an unknown vessel. It has passed through Layer 7 of the Obsidian Perimeter." Korath did not respond at first. He simply stared at the officer as if the young Valtteri had spoken in a language he did not understand. Layer 7 was the innermost defense grid. The Obsidian Perimeter had 7 layers of detection systems, weapon platforms, and energy barriers. No ship in the history of the galaxy had ever passed Layer 3. Layer 7 was supposed to be impossible. "Run the diagnostics again," Korath ordered. "There must be an error in the system." The officers worked quickly. Their fingers moved across the glowing control panels. Minutes passed. The entire command center was silent, except for the soft sounds of the machines. "Sir," the young officer said again. His voice was even more afraid now. "The diagnostics are complete. There's no error. The signal is real. There is a ship inside our space." Korath walked slowly toward the main screen. He had commanded the 7th Fleet for 200 years. He had never lost a battle. He had never faced a situation he could not control. But now, looking at that small dot moving through Valtteri space, he felt something strange in his chest. He felt doubt. "Show me the vessel," he said. The screen changed. Long-range sensors captured an image of the intruder. Korath leaned forward. His eyes narrowed. It was small. Very small. The ship was perhaps 100 meters long. It had a simple design with smooth curves and no visible weapons. The hull was painted dark gray, almost black. There were no markings that Korath recognized. "Identify the species," he ordered. An officer checked the database. "Sir, the ship design matches human construction patterns." Silence filled the room. Then, slowly, laughter began. One officer started, then another. Soon, half the command center was laughing. Humans, the primitive species from a small planet called Earth. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 200 years ago. They were considered one of the weakest species in the known galaxy. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were weak. They had no military power worth mentioning. A human ship? One officer said between laughs. "They probably got lost and wandered in by accident." Korath did not laugh. He continued to watch the screen. Something felt wrong. Humans were not stupid. They were weak, yes, but not stupid. Why would a human ship fly directly into the most protected space in the Valtteri Empire? "Track the vessel," Korath commanded. "I want continuous monitoring." The laughter stopped. The officers returned to their work. Korath watched the small dot on the screen move deeper into Valtteri space. Then it vanished. Korath blinked. The dot was gone. The screen showed empty space where the human ship had been just seconds before. "Where is it?" he demanded. "Searching, sir," an officer replied. Panic was creeping into his voice. "We cannot locate the vessel. It has disappeared from all sensors." Korath gripped the edge of the control panel. His claws dug into the metal. "Ships do not just disappear. Find it." 30 seconds passed. 40 seconds. 1 minute. The officers searched desperately, but the human ship was gone. It was as if it had never existed. Then, suddenly, the ship reappeared. But it was not where it had been before. It was now 40,000 kilometers deeper into Valtteri space. It had moved instantly, without any warning, without any trace. "That is impossible," Korath whispered far away. Aboard the human vessel called the Silent Dawn, Captain Taiho sat in his chair and drank tea. His face was calm. His eyes were focused. Behind him, the rest of his small crew worked quietly. "How are we doing, Yuna?" Taiho asked. The pilot, a young woman with short black hair, smiled without looking away from her controls. "We passed Layer 7 about 3 minutes ago. They definitely saw us. I am guessing they are very confused right now." Taiho nodded slowly. He took another sip of his tea. "And the stealth drive?" From the engineering station, a young man named Minho gave a thumbs up. His hair was messy, and his uniform was covered in grease stains. "Running perfectly, Captain." "Well, mostly perfectly. There is a small heat problem, but nothing I cannot handle." Taiho trusted Minho completely. The young engineer had designed the stealth drive himself. It was technology that no other species in the galaxy possessed. The drive could bend light and energy around the ship, making it invisible to all known sensors. It could also create small wormholes for instant travel across short distances. The Valtteri had never imagined such technology could exist. At the back of the bridge, an older woman studied a data screen. Her name was Dr. Nari. She was not a soldier or a pilot. She was a scientist. And she was the reason they were on this mission. "Doctor," Taiho said gently, "are you all right?" Nari looked up. Her eyes were tired. She had not slept well in many days. "I am fine, Captain. I'm just thinking about what happens if we fail." Taiho set down his tea. He turned his chair to face her directly. "We will not fail. We have the best pilot in the human fleet. We have a genius engineer. And we have a mission worth dying for. That is more than enough." Nari nodded, but the worry did not leave her eyes. She looked back at her screen. The data showed images of sick children, dying colonists, and empty hospital beds. A plague was spreading through the outer human colonies. Millions had already died. Millions more would die in the coming months. And the only cure existed here, deep inside Valtteri space. Back on the command station, Grand Admiral Korath made his decision. He pressed the fleet-wide communication button. His voice echoed across hundreds of warships. "All vessels, this is Grand Admiral Korath. We have an intruder in our space. It is a human ship. I do not know how it passed our defenses. I do not care. Find that ship, destroy it, and bring me answers. This is not a request. This is an order." He ended the transmission and stared at the screen. The small dot was still moving, still going deeper into the Empire. "What are you?" Korath whispered to himself. "What are you humans really?" He did not know the answer yet, but he would learn. And when he did, it would change everything he believed about the galaxy. The hunt was about to begin. 200 warships spread across the darkness of space like a giant net. Each ship was massive, armed with weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. The Valtteri fleet moved in perfect formation, scanning every corner of space for their tiny target. Grand Admiral Korath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Might. He watched the tactical display with growing frustration. The human ship had appeared on sensors 3 more times since the alert began. Each time, it vanished before any ship could get close. Each time, it reappeared somewhere unexpected. "It is playing with us," Sub-Commander Helix said quietly. He stood beside Korath, his arms crossed. "The human ship is not trying to escape. It is testing our response times." Korath did not want to admit it, but Helix was right. The humans were not acting like prey. They were acting like hunters learning about their target. "Increase speed," Korath ordered. Close the formation. I want that ship trapped. The fleet obeyed. 200 ships moved closer together, leaving no gaps. Any vessel trying to pass through would be caught instantly. Aboard the Silent Dawn, Yuna watched the Valkyrie formation on her screen. She whistled softly. They are getting serious now. 200 ships. That is almost flattering. Captain Taiho leaned forward in his chair. Can you get through? Yuna smiled. It was the smile of someone who loved impossible challenges. Captain, have you ever seen me fail? There is a first time for everything. Not today. Yuna's fingers danced across the controls. Minho, I need full power to the engines. We are going through the asteroid cluster. From the engineering station, Minho's eyes went wide. The asteroid cluster? Yuna, that thing is completely unstable. The rocks are spinning and crashing into each other constantly. No pilot has ever flown through it successfully. Then I will be the first. Taiho nodded slowly. He trusted Yuna with his life. He had trusted her since the day they first flew together, 10 years ago. She had never let him down. Do it, he said. The Silent Dawn turned sharply and accelerated toward a dense field of spinning rocks. The asteroids were massive, some as large as mountains. They moved chaotically, smashing into each other and creating clouds of debris. Flying through at high speed was considered suicide by every known military doctrine. On the Eternal Might, Korath watched the human ship's new course with confusion. Where are they going? The asteroid cluster? They cannot be serious, Helix said. No ship can survive that field at high speed. Their pilot must be insane. Korath was not so sure. He had seen too many impossible things in the last few hours. Send 12 ships to follow them. Destroy them if they survive the field. 12 Valkyrie warships broke formation and chased the human vessel into the asteroid cluster. They were confident. Their ships were larger and more powerful. The humans would be crushed inside the Silent Dawn. Alarms screamed as asteroids flew past the windows. Yuna's hands moved faster than thought. She dodged left, then right, then up, then down. Each movement was perfect. Each turn came at exactly the right moment. Rock coming from below. Minho shouted. While Yuna flipped the ship upside down and slid past the spinning boulder with meters to spare. She laughed as she flew. This was what she lived for. Behind them, the 12 Valkyrie ships were not so lucky. The first ship crashed into an asteroid and exploded in a ball of fire. The second ship tried to avoid the debris, but flew directly into another rock. The third and fourth ships collided with each other while trying to match the human ship's movements. One by one, the Valkyrie vessels died. They were trained in formation combat and organized fleet tactics. They did not know how to improvise. They did not know how to adapt in real time. The asteroid field required split-second decisions and creative thinking. These were things humans did naturally. Only one Valkyrie ship survived the cluster. It emerged damaged and burning, barely able to fly. The crew sent a single message before the ship lost power. The human ship survived. We could not follow. They are too fast. They are too unpredictable. We have never seen flying like this before. On the Eternal Might, Korath heard the message in silence. 11 ships destroyed. 1 crippled. And the human vessel had not taken a single hit. Impossible, an officer whispered. Korath turned sharply to face his crew. I want no more of that word on this ship. Everything we have seen today was supposed to be impossible. The humans do not care about impossible. We must learn to think the same way. Halleck stepped closer to Korath. His voice was quiet, so others could not hear. Admiral, who are these people? Humans were never supposed to be capable of this. I am beginning to think we do not know humans at all, Korath replied. Aboard the Silent Dawn, the celebration was short. Yuna was smiling proudly, and Minho was cheering. But Captain Taiho remained serious. He was looking at the engine readings. "Minho," he said, "the stealth drive is overheating." Minho stopped cheering. He ran to his engineering console and checked the numbers. His face fell. The captain is right. The drive cannot handle much more stress. If we keep using it at full power, it will burn out. Dr. Nari looked up from her research. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 10 more jumps," Minho said. "Possibly less. After that, we will be visible to everyone." The mood on the bridge changed instantly. Without the stealth drive, the Silent Dawn was just a small ship with no weapons. They would be destroyed in minutes. "Then we need to move faster," Taiho said. "How far are we from the target?" Nari checked her navigation data. "We need to pass through 3 more sectors to reach the biogenesis vault. That is where the cure is stored." Taiho nodded. "We can do this. We must do this. There are millions of people counting on us." The ship flew on through the darkness of space. Behind them, Korath was planning his next move. "Set a trap," the Admiral ordered. "Use gravity well generators to create a field that prevents faster-than-light travel. Force them to fight." The Valkyrie fleet moved into position. 40 warships surrounded a single point in space. Gravity generators powered up, creating an invisible cage. Any ship that entered would be trapped, unable to jump away. "Now we wait," Korath said. "The humans must pass through this sector. When they do, we will finally have them." Hours passed. Then, the Silent Dawn appeared on sensors. It was heading directly toward the trap. "They are coming," Helix reported. "They will enter the gravity field in 60 seconds. Korath allowed himself a small smile. Finally, the Silent Dawn entered the trap. Instantly, alarms filled the bridge. Yuna tried to jump the ship to safety, but nothing happened. They were stuck. "We cannot escape," Yuna said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. "They have us." 40 Valkyrie warships closed in. Their weapons powered up. There was nowhere to run. Captain Taiho stood from his chair. He walked to Minho's station and placed a hand on the young engineer's shoulder. "Minho," he said quietly, "can you do the thing we promised never to do?" Minho's face went pale. "Captain, that is extremely dangerous. We have never tested it properly. It could destroy us. It could also save us." Minho stared at his captain for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "All right. But if we die, I want everyone to know this was not my idea." He activated a hidden program in the ship's computer. The stealth drive began making strange sounds. Energy levels climbed higher than they had ever been before. On the Valkyrie ships, officers watched in confusion. "Sir, the human vessel is doing something. Energy readings are off the charts. We have never seen anything like this." Korath leaned forward. "What are they doing?" Before anyone could answer, the Silent Dawn folded in on itself. For 1 second, it became a point of pure light. Then it vanished completely. The ship reappeared behind the entire Valkyrie fleet. It had jumped through a micro-wormhole, something that should have been theoretically impossible with current technology. Korath stared at the empty space where the human ship had been. His mouth was open. No words came out. Helix spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "What are these humans?" Nobody could answer him, because nobody knew anymore. The throne of Maltos was the largest building on the Valkyrie homeworld. It rose into the purple sky like a mountain made of black stone and gold metal. Inside its great hall, High Sovereign Maltos sat upon his ancient chair. He had ruled the Valkyrie Empire for 800 years. He had seen civilizations rise and fall. He had watched stars die. Today, he watched Grand Admiral Korath kneel before him in shame. "Explain," Maltos said. His voice was cold and deep. It echoed through the massive hall. Korath kept his eyes on the floor. "Your Majesty, a human vessel entered our space. It passed through the obsidian perimeter without triggering any early warnings. We deployed the 7th Fleet to intercept 200 of our finest warships. And we failed, Your Majesty. The human ship escaped every trap. It destroyed 12 of our vessels without firing a single weapon. It moves in ways we cannot predict. It has technology we cannot understand." Maltos leaned forward in his throne. His ancient eyes studied the admiral carefully. "You are telling me that a single ship from one of the weakest species in the galaxy has defeated our greatest fleet?" "Not defeated, Your Majesty. Escaped. They are not trying to fight us. They are trying to reach something." "What are they trying to reach?" Korath hesitated. "We believe they are heading toward the core systems, possibly toward the biogenesis vault." Silence fell over the hall. The biogenesis vault was the most sacred place in the Velthari Empire. It contained genetic samples and biological compounds from thousands of species. Some of those compounds were extremely valuable, capable of curing diseases that had no other treatment. "Why would humans want access to the vault?" Maltos asked. "We do not know yet, Your Majesty. But I believe we have underestimated this species greatly." Maltos was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had found a new puzzle to solve. "Interesting," he said. "Tell me more about these humans." While Korath spoke with the High Sovereign, Velthari intelligence officers across the Empire began studying humanity. They accessed every piece of information they had collected over the past 2 centuries. They analyzed human history, human culture, human military tactics. What they found disturbed them. Humans were not strong like the Velthari. They did not have natural armor or claws. They could not survive extreme temperatures. By all measures, they should have been a weak and forgettable species. But humans had one quality that no other species in the galaxy possessed in the same way. They adapted that when humans faced a problem, they did not give up. They did not wait for help. They found a solution or they died trying. Throughout their history, humans had faced countless disasters, wars, plagues, and near extinctions. Each time, they survived. Each time, they came back stronger. One intelligence officer summarized his findings in a simple report. Humans treat the impossible as a personal challenge. They do not accept limitations. When told something cannot be done, they find a way to do it anyway. This makes them unpredictable and extremely dangerous. The report spread through the military ranks quickly. Soldiers who had laughed at humans began to look at the ghost ship differently. Some felt fear. Others felt something closer to respect. On a distant patrol ship, a young Velthari soldier spoke to his friend. "Did you hear about the human ship? They say it flew through the asteroid cluster at maximum speed. No Velthari pilot could do that." His friend nodded slowly. "I heard the stories. They say the humans are not running from us. They say we are simply in their way." The legend of the Silent Dawn was growing. And aboard the ship itself, the crew was facing their own challenges. Captain Taiho sat alone in his small room. He was looking at a photograph. It showed a young boy with black hair and a bright smile. The boy's name was Jiho. He was Taiho's nephew. Jiho had been one of the first victims of the plague. He had died 3 months ago, before anyone understood how dangerous the disease was. He was 7 years old. Taiho carried the photograph with him everywhere. It reminded him why he had volunteered for this mission, why he was willing to die in the heart of enemy space. Dr. Nari knocked on his door and entered without waiting for permission. She had known Taiho for 20 years. She did not need permission. "You should sleep," she said gently. "I cannot sleep." Taiho set down the photograph. Every time I close my eyes, I see their faces. The children in the hospitals. The parents crying. I cannot rest until we finish this. Nari sat down across from him. She looked tired, too. They all did. Do you want to know why I agreed to this mission? She asked. Tae-ho looked at her. I thought it was because you wanted to save lives. That is part of it. But there is more. Nari took a deep breath. 20 years ago, I was part of a secret diplomatic mission. Humans and Velthari working together in peace. We shared knowledge. We shared research. I worked with their scientists at the biogenesis vault. Taiho's eyes widened slightly. You have been there before? Yes, and while I was there I discovered something. The Velthari have a biological compound that can cure almost any organic disease. They call it the prime essence. It is kept in the vault, protected more carefully than anything else in their empire. The plague, Taiho said. The prime essence can cure it. Yes, when the plague started spreading through our colonies, I contacted my old Velthari colleagues. I begged them for help. I explained that millions of our people, including children, would die without treatment. What did they say? Nari's face hardened. They said no. They said humans were a lesser species. They said our extinction would remove a future problem. They refused to help. Taiho felt anger burn in his chest. So we are stealing the cure they refuse to give. We are taking what is necessary to save our people. Call it whatever you want. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Taiho stood up. He put the photograph in his pocket and walked toward the door. Thank you for telling me, he said. It helps to know the full story. Where are you going? To the bridge. We have work to do. In the Velthari core systems, Grand Admiral Korath returned to his flagship. He had been given new orders by High Sovereign Maltos. Find a human ship. Capture the crew alive, if possible. Learn their secrets. Then destroy them as an example to the galaxy. But Korath was no longer sure he wanted to destroy the humans. He had spent the journey back reading about their history. He had learned about their wars, their discoveries, their endless struggle for survival. And he had found something surprising. He respected them. Korath had been a warrior for 200 years. He understood courage. He understood sacrifice. The humans aboard that small ship were not terrorists or invaders. They were soldiers fighting for their people. They were risking everything for a cause greater than themselves. It was exactly what Korath would do if his own people were dying. Admiral, Helix said as Korath entered the bridge. The human ship has been detected again. They are approaching the core systems. Korath looked at the tactical display. The small dot was moving steadily toward the heart of the Empire, toward the biogenesis vault. How many ships do we have in position? Korath asked. 500, sir. The largest fleet in our history. There is no way the humans can escape this time. Korath stared at the screen for a long time. 500 ships against one small vessel. It should be an easy victory. But Korath no longer believed in easy victories when it came to humans. Do not underestimate them, he said quietly. These humans have surprised us at every turn. They will surprise us again. Helix looked at his admiral with confusion. Sir, you almost sound like you admire them. Korath did not answer. He simply watched the screen as the human ship flew closer to its destination. Closer to a confrontation that would change everything. The biogenesis vault was now only one jump away. The final challenge was about to begin. The biogenesis vault orbited the sacred star of the Velthari Empire. It was a massive station, almost the size of a small moon. Its surface was covered with weapon platforms, shield generators, and defensive systems. Nothing could approach it without permission. Nothing had ever tried until now. the Silent Dawn dropped out of stealth mode. For the first time since entering Valtteri space, the ship became fully visible. Every sensor in the system locked onto the small human vessel. Captain Taiho pressed the communication button. His voice was broadcast on all frequencies. Every Valtteri ship heard his words. "This is Captain Taiho of the human vessel Silent Dawn. We are not your enemies. We are parents trying to save our children. A plague is killing our people. The cure exists in your vault. We are asking you, one species to another, to stand aside and let us help our families. We do not want war. We want only to save lives." Silence followed the message. 500 Valtteri warships surrounded the small human vessel. Their weapons were powered and ready. One command would destroy the Silent Dawn in seconds. On the flagship Eternal Might, Grand Admiral Korath listened to the human captain's words. He felt something strange in his chest. It was not hatred or anger. It was understanding. Helix stepped forward. "Admiral, should we destroy them?" Korath raised his hand. "Wait. Open a direct channel. I want to speak with their captain." The communication link was established. For the first time, Korath and Taiho saw each other face to face through the holographic display. Korath studied the human carefully. Taiho was not large or physically impressive by Valtteri standards, but there was something in his eyes. A calm strength that came from absolute certainty in his purpose. "Captain Taiho," Korath said, "you have led us on an impressive chase. Your skills are remarkable." Taiho nodded politely. "Admiral Korath, your reputation is well known, even among humans. I am honored to meet you, even under these circumstances. You asked us to stand aside. You know I cannot do that. Imperial law forbids sharing the prime essence with any species. If I let you pass, I would be a traitor. And if you stop us, millions of our children will die." Taiho's voice was steady but heavy with emotion. "I have watched our hospitals fill with the sick and dying. I have held the hands of parents who lost their only children. Admiral, we did not want to come here as thieves. We asked your government for help. They refused." Korath was silent for a moment. He had read the intelligence reports. He knew about the diplomatic request and the refusal. He also knew why the High Sovereign had said no. Maltos viewed humans as a potential future threat. Their extinction was considered acceptable. "I understand your situation," Korath said finally, "but I have my orders. Then we have nothing more to discuss." Taiho straightened in his chair. "We will take what we need. Try to stop us if you must. But know that we will not surrender. We will never surrender. Not while our children are dying." The communication ended. Korath stared at the empty space where Taiho's image had been. Then he turned to his crew. "All ships, prepare to engage." Aboard the Silent Dawn, Yuna was already working. Her fingers flew across the controls as she calculated the impossible approach she was about to attempt. "Minho, I need everything you have left in the stealth drive." Minho shook his head. "Yuna, the drive is almost burned out. I can give you maybe 2 more jumps. Maybe. 1 jump. That is all I need. Get me to the vault's docking bay." Taiho looked at his crew. These were the people he trusted most in the universe. Yuna, the greatest pilot humanity had ever produced. Minho, the young genius who had built their impossible technology. Dr. Nari, who carried the hope of millions in her brilliant mind. "This is it," Taiho said. "Once we are inside, we will have minutes at most before they overwhelm us. Nari, you know where the prime essence is stored?" "Yes, Section 12, Level 3. I remember the path." "Good. Minho, you will stay with the ship and hold them off as long as possible. Yuna, after you get us in, help Minho." Yuna started to protest. "Captain, I should come with you. You will need protection. I need you here more. Without this ship, we cannot transmit the cure to our colonies. The Silent Dawn must survive. Yuna wanted to argue, but she saw the truth in his words. She nodded slowly. Everyone ready? Taiho asked. 3 voices answered together. Ready. Then let us save our people. Yuna activated the final jump. The Silent Dawn folded through space and reappeared inside the vault's main docking bay, crashing through sealed doors at impossible speed. The ship slammed into the deck and slid across the floor, leaving a trail of fire behind it. Emergency alarms filled the station. Valkyrie guards rushed toward the crashed vessel. The invasion had begun. Taiho and Nari jumped from the ship before it stopped moving. They ran into the corridors of the vault, following the path Nari remembered from 20 years ago. Valkyrie guards appeared ahead of them. Taiho raised his weapon and fired without slowing down. He was not a natural fighter, but desperation made him fast and accurate. 2 guards fell. 3 more came from a side corridor. Nari pulled Taiho into a maintenance passage. This way. I remember a shortcut. They ran through dark tunnels while alarms screamed around them. Behind them, they could hear more guards shouting and chasing. On the Silent Dawn, Minho sealed the doors and powered up the ship's shield. It would not last long, but it would buy time. How many are out there? Yuna asked. Minho checked the sensors. Maybe 50 soldiers. More coming every minute. Then we better make this count. The Valkyrie guards surrounded the ship and began cutting through the hull. Sparks flew as plasma torches burned through the metal. Minho grabbed a fire extinguisher and prepared to fight. Yuna found a metal pipe. They had no real weapons. They only had determination. Deep in the vault, Taiho and Nari reached Section 12. The doors were locked with genetic scanners that only Valkyrie DNA could open. But Nari had prepared for this. She pulled out a small device and attached it to the scanner. What is that? Taiho asked while watching for enemies. A gift from my old colleagues. Some of them disagreed with the Empire's decision. They helped me in secret. The device worked. The doors opened. Inside was a room filled with glowing containers. Each container held biological samples from different species. At the center of the room, on a raised platform, was a single golden vial. The prime essence. Nari grabbed the vial and immediately connected it to her portable analyzer. Her fingers worked quickly as she copied the molecular formula into the device's memory. I need 2 more minutes, she said. Taiho heard footsteps coming closer. He positioned himself at the door and raised his weapon. You have 1 minute. Work faster. Guards appeared at the end of the corridor. Taiho fired and forced them to take cover. He knew he could not win this fight. There were too many of them. But he only needed to hold them for a little longer. 1 minute passed. Nari shouted, I have it. The formula is complete. Taiho grabbed her hand. Transmit it now, before they stop us. Nari pressed a button on her device. The molecular formula of the prime essence was broadcast on every human frequency simultaneously. Every human colony received the information. Every human scientist now had the cure. Even if they died right now, the mission was successful. The guards rushed forward. Taiho raised his hands in surrender. There was no point fighting anymore. They had done what they came to do. On the Silent Dawn, Minho was surrounded by Valkyrie soldiers. He was bleeding from several cuts, and his arms were bound. But he was smiling. Totally worth it, he said to the guards. You have no idea what we just did. The soldiers dragged him away. They did not understand why the human was laughing. Back in Section 12, Taiho and Nari knelt on the floor with weapons pointed at their heads. Guards filled the room. There was no escape. Then the doors opened again. Grand Admiral Korath walked into the room. His weapon was drawn. His eyes were fixed on Captain Taiho. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Taiho looked up at the admiral, who had chased him across the galaxy. Korath looked down at the human who had done the impossible. Korath raised his weapon. Taiho closed his eyes and thought of his nephew, Jiho. At least now other children would live. But the shot did not come. Taiho opened his eyes. Korath was still standing there, weapon raised, but he had not fired. There was something strange in the admiral's expression. Something that almost looked like admiration. "You did it, did you not?" Korath said quietly. "You transmitted the formula. The cure is already spreading." "Yes," Taiho replied. "Our mission is complete. Do what you must." Korath stared at him for another long moment. Then he made a decision that would change everything. Grand Admiral Korath lowered his weapon. The guards around him stared in confusion. Sub-Commander Helix stepped forward, his face showing disbelief. "Admiral, what are you doing? These humans broke into our most sacred facility. They stole our secrets. High Sovereign Maltos ordered their destruction." Korath did not take his eyes off Captain Taiho. "I have studied humans for many hours now. I have read their history. I have watched this ship accomplish impossible things. And do you know what I learned, Helix? Sir? I learned that these people did not come here as enemies. They came here as survivors. They came here as parents trying to save their children." Korath put his weapon away. "I have been a warrior for 200 years. I have destroyed countless ships. I have won every battle I have fought. But today, I found something I cannot defeat." "What is that, sir?" "A species that will not accept extinction. A species that runs toward danger instead of away from it. A species that treats impossible as a personal challenge." Korath looked around the room at his soldiers. "If we destroy these humans today, we will create a war that will never end. They will come back. They will keep coming. And they will make us regret this moment forever." Taiho slowly stood up. He kept his hands visible so no one would think he was threatening. "Admiral, we never wanted to be your enemies. We only wanted to save our people." "I know," Korath said. "And that is exactly what I would have done if my people were dying." The room was silent. Guards exchanged nervous glances. No one knew what to do. Korath activated his communication device. His message was broadcast live across the entire Velthari Empire. Every military channel, every civilian frequency, every government office heard his voice. "This is Grand Admiral Korath. I am addressing all citizens of the Empire. Today, a human vessel penetrated our defenses and reached the biogenesis vault. I was ordered to destroy them and everyone aboard." He paused. Millions of Velthari waited for his next words. "I am refusing that order. These humans did not come to attack us. They came to save their children from a plague that is killing millions. They asked our government for help. We refused. They were forced to risk their lives to take what we would not give." On the Velthari homeworld, High Sovereign Maltos watched the broadcast with growing fury. His ancient hands gripped the arms of his throne until his claws drew blood. "Get me communications with the vault immediately," Maltos demanded. "I want Korath silenced." But it was too late. Korath was still speaking. "I have served this empire for 200 years. I have never questioned my orders. But today, I saw something that changed my understanding of the galaxy. I saw courage. I saw sacrifice. I saw a tiny crew of 4 humans risk everything for their people." Korath looked directly at the camera. "These are not the actions of a lesser species. These are the actions of beings worthy of respect. I will not be the one to destroy them. And I will not serve an empire that would let children die when we have the power to save them." He removed his admiral's insignia from his uniform and dropped it on the floor. "I resign my commission." Effective immediately, the broadcast ended. Silence filled the galaxy. On the Eternal Might, Sub-Commander Helix stared at his former commander. "Admiral, what have you done?" "What I should have done from the beginning," Korath replied. "The right thing." Seconds later, Maltos's voice boomed through every speaker in the vault. "All forces, ignore Admiral Korath. He is a traitor. Destroy the human ship and execute everyone aboard, including Korath himself." The guards in Section 12 raised their weapons again. They were trained to obey the High Sovereign without question. But something had changed. Korath's words had planted a seed of doubt in their minds. One guard stepped forward. Then another. They lowered their weapons. "We will not fire, Your Majesty," the lead guard said. "The Admiral is right. These humans showed more honor than we have." On the Eternal Might, the same thing was happening. Officers who had served under Korath for decades refused to follow Maltos's order. They had watched the human ship's impossible journey. They had seen courage that their own textbooks would never teach. Helix looked at the tactical display, showing 500 Velthari warships. Half of them had stopped responding to the High Sovereign's commands. "This is unprecedented," Helix said quietly. "The fleet is dividing." Korath nodded grimly. "I did not expect this. I was prepared to die alone for my decision." "You inspired something, Admiral. Maybe something that was waiting to be inspired for a long time." On distant Velthari worlds, citizens watched the broadcasts with amazement. For centuries, they had been taught that the Empire was perfect, that the High Sovereign was always right, that other species were inferior. Now, one of their greatest heroes was saying something different, and many of them found that they agreed with him. Inside the vault, Captain Taiho approached Korath. "You have destroyed your career for us. Perhaps your life. Why?" Korath looked at the human with something that might have been a smile. "Because I am old enough to know when I am wrong. My empire thought humans were insignificant. We were fools. You showed us what your species is truly capable of. And you did it without firing a single shot." Dr. Nari stepped forward. "What happens now, Admiral? Now?" Korath looked toward the docking bay where the damaged Silent Dawn waited. "Now I let you leave. Take your crew. Take your ship. Go home and save your children." Taiho hesitated. "The High Sovereign will hunt us." "He will hunt you. Let him try. Something has changed today. The Empire will never be the same." Korath walked toward the door. "Go, Captain." "Before I change my mind." The crew of the Silent Dawn moved quickly through the vault. Guards stepped aside to let them pass. Some even nodded respectfully as they walked by. Minho was released from his restraints. He was bruised and bleeding, but still smiling. "Did we win? Did the cure get transmitted?" "It got transmitted," Yuna said, helping him walk. "Every human colony has it now. Then everything else is just details." They reached the Silent Dawn. The ship was damaged but still able to fly. Yuna sat in the pilot's seat and began the startup sequence. Minho limped to his engineering station and checked the systems. "We have enough power for one jump," he reported. "After that, we need serious repairs." "One jump is all we need," Taiho said. "Take us home, Yuna." Yuna's hands moved across the controls. For the first time in weeks, she felt no tension in her shoulders. They had done the impossible. They had won. The Silent Dawn lifted off from the damaged docking bay and flew toward open space. Velthari ships moved aside to let them pass. Korath had given the order, and half the fleet obeyed Dot as the ship prepared to jump. Taiho activated the communication system one final time. His voice was broadcast to every Velthari ship and every human colony simultaneously. "This is Captain Taiho of the Silent Dawn. We did not come to your space as warriors. We came as survivors. Humanity does not seek your destruction, but we will never accept our own. Remember this day. We are not your prey. We are not your enemies, but we will fight for our children with everything we have. Always, the ship jumped. In a flash of light, it vanished from Valkyrie space. 3 weeks later, the Silent Dawn returned to Earth. The crew was welcomed as heroes. The cure synthesized from the Prime Essence had already begun saving lives. Millions of humans who would have died were now recovering. Children who were on the edge of death were playing again. Captain Taiho stood at a window in the medical center and watched a young boy run across the grass outside. The boy reminded him of Jeho. He would carry his nephew's memory forever. But now he could also carry hope. Dr. Nari joined him at the window. The plague is ending. The cure is working exactly as predicted. Good, Taiho said quietly. Then it was worth it. All of it. In the Valkyrie Empire, things were changing. Korath had become a controversial figure. Some called him a traitor. Others called him a visionary who saw the future before anyone else. The High Sovereign wanted him executed, but too many officers and citizens supported him. A political battle was just beginning. In the great archives of the Valkyrie, a new entry was recorded. It was added quietly, without ceremony, by an archivist who had watched everything unfold. The entry read, "Species designation, human, threat level, unclassifiable. Recommendation, do not provoke. Additional note, these beings run toward the impossible. Approach with extreme caution and unexpected respect." Somewhere in space, the Silent Dawn flew through the stars. Its hull was scarred, its systems were damaged, but it was still flying. Just like humanity itself, Yuna looked at her captain and smiled. "So, what is our next mission?" Taiho laughed softly. It was the first time he had laughed in months. "Rest," he said. "Our next mission is rest." Minho nodded enthusiastically. "I support this mission completely." The ship flew on through the endless darkness, carrying its small crew home. They had faced an empire and won. They had done the impossible, because that is what humans do.